the United States has enacted strict export restrictions designed to limit China's access to vital technologies, especially within the semiconductor and artificial intelligence industries. These actions, which include placing major Chinese companies like Huawei and SMIC on blacklists, expanding the foreign direct product rule, and controlling the export of advanced semiconductor manufacturing equipment, aim to safeguard U.S. national security and preserve its technological lead. If you are new to our channel, please leave a like as well as a sub so you never miss another video. In retaliation to U.S. policies, Beijing has heightened trade tensions with Washington by enforcing a ban on exporting certain essential materials critical for high-tech and defense purposes. This measure, viewed as a response to the U.S.'s tightening technology sanctions on China, was declared by the Chinese Ministry of Commerce on Tuesday. Trade wars are not a new phenomenon. They have been part of global interactions for many years. Before examining the specifics of the current trade dispute, it's important to review the history and consequences of previous trade wars. The Opium Wars in the mid-19th century between China and Western nations, primarily Britain, were focused on trade disagreements over opium. These wars significantly affected China's sovereignty and its dealings with foreign powers. In the 18th century, European demand for Chinese goods like silk, porcelain, and tea created a trade imbalance, with silver flowing into China. To address this, the British East India Company began exporting opium from India to China, resulting in widespread addiction and societal problems. The Qing dynasty's attempts to ban the opium trade led to the Opium Wars, which resulted in significant territorial losses and reduced sovereignty for China. Another example is the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, a major U.S. law intended to protect American businesses and farmers during the Great Depression by imposing high tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods. This policy led to immediate retaliation from America's trading partners, contributing to a 65% decrease in global trade between 1929 and 1934, which worsened the global economic downturn. More recently, in the early 1960s, the United States and several European nations, notably France and West Germany, engaged in a trade dispute known as the Chicken War. This conflict arose when European countries imposed tariffs and price controls on imported U.S. chicken to protect their domestic poultry industries. In retaliation, President Lyndon B. Johnson's administration enacted a 25% tariff on various European imports, including light trucks, potato starch, dextrin, and brandy. The chicken tax had a substantial impact on the automotive industry, particularly affecting German manufacturers like Volkswagen, and remains in place today. The trade war between the United States and China, initiated during President Trump's first term, marked a significant shift in their economic relationship. The conflict was characterized by the imposition of tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of goods, disrupting trade flows and creating uncertainty in global markets. The first round of tariffs in July 2018 targeted $34 billion worth of Chinese goods, including machinery, electronics, and industrial products, to which China responded with tariffs on U.S. agricultural products like soybeans and pork. By the end of 2019, the U.S. had extended tariffs to $550 billion worth of Chinese imports, covering a wide range of consumer goods such as electronics, textiles, and toys, while China imposed tariffs on $85 billion worth of U.S. exports. These measures significantly increased costs for U.S. businesses reliant on imported goods, often passing the burden onto consumers through higher prices for everyday items. China's retaliatory tariffs heavily impacted American farmers, especially soybean exporters, who saw their sales to China plummet as Beijing turned to alternative suppliers like Brazil. After 2 years of escalating tensions, the U.S. and China signed the Phase 1 trade deal in January 2020. Under the agreement, China committed to purchasing an additional $200 billion of U.S. goods and services over 2017 levels, with specific targets for manufactured goods, agriculture, and energy products. It also pledged to address intellectual property concerns and eliminate forced technology transfers. However, the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted trade flows, and by the end of 2021, China had fulfilled only 60% of its purchasing commitments. The deal also left unresolved issues like state subsidies and industrial policies. The trade war had broader effects on global supply chains, prompting U.S. companies to diversify their sourcing to countries like Vietnam, India, and Mexico. It also accelerated economic decoupling, With both nations striving to reduce interdependence, China pursued self-sufficiency in critical industries such as semiconductors, while the US sought to enhance domestic production of strategic goods, despite the trade war not fully achieving its goals, such as significantly reducing the trade deficit. It marked a turning point in US-China relations, highlighting deep strategic tensions that continue to shape bilateral policies and global economic dynamics. The US restrictions have driven China to prioritize self-sufficiency. Significant state investments in research and development have allowed companies like SMIC to make considerable progress in semiconductor manufacturing. Domestic innovation in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and telecommunications has surged, fueled by increased funding and government incentives. China has strengthened relationships with non-US technology providers and nations not fully aligned with American policies, such as Russia and some European and Asian countries, through strategic partnerships and initiatives like the Belt and Road. This has helped China diversify its supply chains and decrease reliance on US technology. The extraterritorial nature of US export controls has also strained ties with key allies and partners. Companies like ASML and TSMC have sought to lessen dependency on US technologies to avoid being impacted by the restrictions. Major US technology firms, including NVIDIA, AMD, and Lam Research, have reported substantial revenue losses due to reduced access to the Chinese market. The policy has limited US companies' economies of scale, potentially weakening their global competitiveness over time. Despite the export controls, Chinese companies have introduced advanced products demonstrating technological sophistication. For instance, Huawei's new AI chips and smartphones feature state-of-the-art designs and manufacturing techniques. China's indigenous innovation strategy, supported by state-led initiatives and international collaboration, has driven remarkable advancements across various industries. In a significant escalation, the Chinese government has announced a complete ban on the export of essential materials to the US, including rare earth elements necessary for producing electronics, electric vehicles, and advanced weaponry. The restrictions cover materials such as gallium, germanium, antimony, and super-hard substances, all integral to industries like semiconductors, satellite technology, and night vision equipment. China, which produces over 70% of the world's rare earths, has utilized its dominant position as a strategic countermeasure. The ban is expected to have extensive effects on US industries and global supply chains. The ban on rare earth exports has caused significant disruptions for US manufacturers reliant on these materials for production. Sectors such as aerospace, renewable energy, and defense are urgently seeking alternative sources with limited success. Prices for rare earth materials have surged, creating supply chain bottlenecks and threatening the competitiveness of US companies. China's retaliation underscores the risks of relying on single-source suppliers, prompting US allies to reconsider their positions. While some nations may side with the US, others could seek closer ties with China to avoid being entangled in the conflict. The fragmentation of global trade networks could diminish US influence and disrupt long-standing alliances. By exploiting its dominance in critical materials, China has demonstrated its ability to retaliate effectively against US restrictions. This action not only nullifies the impact of new US measures but also bolsters China's negotiating position. The ban indicates China's willingness to escalate economic confrontation if further provoked, increasing the stakes for future policy decisions. Trump's aggressive stance risks alienating parts of the business community and US allies who depend on stable trade with China. Industries reliant on Chinese goods and materials face rising costs, threatening domestic jobs and growth. The economic backlash could undermine the administration's promises to revive US manufacturing and protect jobs, creating political challenges at home. President-elect Donald Trump has issued a stern warning to the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, against attempts to establish a new currency that could challenge the US dollar's global dominance. He threatened to impose 100% tariffs on these countries if they proceed with such plans, emphasizing that any move to replace the dollar would lead to significant economic consequences, including restricted access to the US market. China, as a leading BRICS member, has been actively promoting the internationalization of the Chinese yuan, renminbi, to reduce dependence on the US dollar. This strategy includes encouraging the use of the yuan in global trade and investment, establishing currency swap agreements with various countries, and launching yuan-denominated financial instruments. China has urged Middle Eastern oil suppliers to accept yuan for oil transactions and has implemented policies to facilitate the yuan's use in cross-border trade. In pursuit of financial independence from US-based institutions, China has played a key role in the BRICS bloc's initiatives to create alternative financial systems, such as the establishment of the new development bank headquartered in Shanghai. These efforts reflect China's broader strategy to enhance the yuan's role in the global financial system and to build financial infrastructures that operate independently of traditional Western-dominated institutions. However, the US government views these moves as potential threats to the dollar's supremacy and has indicated a willingness to use economic measures such as tariffs to counteract them. The evolving dynamics between the US and BRICS countries highlight the complex interplay of economic policies and geopolitical strategies in the current global economy. China is not the only nation pursuing this approach, as Russia has also intensified its de-dollarization strategy, increasing the use of the ruble and other non-dollar currencies in trade, particularly with China and other BRICS nations. The efforts of China, Russia, Iran, and other nations to promote the use of local currencies in international trade and establish alternative financial systems reflect a broader trend towards reducing reliance on the US dollar and mitigating exposure to currency fluctuations and geopolitical risks. For Iran and Russia, both subject to US sanctions, this strategy is particularly significant, as it provides a mechanism to counteract the impact of these sanctions and enhance their financial sovereignty. The bilateral agreement between Iran and Russia to conduct trade using their national currencies, as well as Iran's free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union, are examples of these initiatives. India, South Africa, and other BRICS nations are also exploring the use of local currencies in trade to mitigate exposure to dollar volatility, aligning with the broader BRICS strategy to enhance financial sovereignty. These developments reflect a strategic effort by various nations to build alternative financial infrastructures that operate independently of US-dominated systems, thereby enhancing their economic resilience amid ongoing geopolitical tensions. The fragmentation of the global financial system and the erosion of the US dollar's dominance could have far-reaching implications for the balance of economic and geopolitical power in the 21st century. As the US and China continue to engage in a complex and multifaceted economic and technological rivalry, the outcomes of their actions will shape the future of global trade, innovation, and the international order. The ability of both nations to find a delicate balance between competition and cooperation will be crucial in determining the trajectory of this evolving landscape. Thanks for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like as well as a sub so more people can see this.